Hello, my name is Kayla Weaver and I'm a CPA at Arndt & Company CPAs. In this video, I'll be going over some of the most commonly used QuickBooks Online reports. I'll show you where to go to run them, the settings you should select, and then some of the things you can look at within the report. So we're going to look at this sample company file. This is one that QuickBooks provides when you just kind of want to mess around here without looking at an actual company. So this is what we're going to use for our purposes here. If you click on Reports on the left-hand side, it'll pull up all of the different reports that QuickBooks includes with the subscription, but we're just going to look at 5 of them here in this video. So we're going to start with the balance sheet. It might be under your favorites, but if not, you can go down here to Business Overview, select it, and then we'll look at some of the settings we want. So it defaults here to this year to date. Yours might be something different. But for our purposes, we only want to run a report through the latest date we've tied out. So we're going to say we've tied out through November 30th. And that basically means we've reconciled our bank accounts and credit card accounts. We feel like our loans are showing the actual balance as of that date, etc. We just feel good about all of our accounts as of November 30th through November 30th here. For accounting method, we're going to leave it on accrual or select it if yours is on cash. We prefer to look at the accrual basis. It's just more useful whenever you're looking at internal reports. It's going to show your accounts receivable and your accounts payable if you use those within QuickBooks. And then it just creates consistency across the board if we're always looking at the accrual basis. For tax purposes, you're probably reporting on the cash basis, which is fine. We can do an adjustment when we go to prepare your tax return. So we can start with the accrual basis financials and do a couple of adjustments, and that ultimately gives you the cash basis financials. So we're still okay there. So go ahead and run report, and you can see it switched it now to November 30th. That's what these balances represent. If you were to go look on November 30th at these balances, what would they be? So the reason that we've got this date range up here is simply so that if we were to click on one of these balances, it would show within this date range. So for example, if we look at inventory asset and we click on that, we can see all of the transactions that make up that ultimate $596.25 balance. If you don't have this selected early enough, like if you, let's say we have this just selected for November, and you were to click on something, in this case these are all November transactions so it won't matter, but let's say we did this, you can actually still come up here and select this and say you want to go back a few months, and then it would just show this one account through the date range you select on here. If you go back to your report, it'll go back to your balance sheet as of November 30th, and it'll be as of the date that you had up here originally. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. That's how we suggest you run that report. This report has your assets, your liabilities, and your equity sections. I'm not going to go into detail on what all of those mean in this video, but just know this is what you're looking at with this report. Next, we're going to go back and look at the profit and loss report. So reports, and then either under your favorites, if it's there, you can click there. If not, it'll be under business overview. And again, we're going to make sure this date range is through our most recently tied out, which we're going to say is November 30th. We've got accrual, run. So now we've got our profit and loss reports, which just shows all our income and expense items. And it shows it for this complete date range. So any transactions from January 1 through November 30th that hit the profit and loss report will be here. And again, if you click on one of these balances, it'll show what in QuickBooks is making up that number. So if we click here, we can see that the design income is made up of some invoices and sales receipts that total $2,250. And you can do that as well in the expense section. So if we were to click on total job materials, it'll show us those 3 sub-accounts and what makes up each of those sub-accounts. You can also see here the split. This means which is the other side of the account. So we know that on one side we hit job materials for decks and patios, but it came out of our MasterCard account. Or on this one, we had entered it as a bill. If you go down here on this one, it was paid directly out of our checking account. So that's kind of what this split column means here. And then just one other item I want to mention is how you can customize. So There are a lot of different ways you can customize. One of the most frequently used ones we see here with the profit and loss report is that you can actually look by month. So it defaults to total usually, but you can switch it to month. And then for whatever your date range up here is, it'll break it down into monthly columns. So now you can see each month's revenue and expense items as well as that same total figure here. And you can still click on any of these and see what makes up that balance. And then after you get to these, if you wanted to pull up, say, a specific transaction, you could click on even that amount and drill down one more time further. So this actually pulls up the invoice from this $90 that we saw here. So that's mostly what I want to show you on the profit and loss report. Let's go back to our reports, and now I want to show you general ledger. This one isn't under our favorites right now, so we'll scroll down, and it's under the For My Accountant section. Depending on how many transactions you have, there are times I've seen if a company just has a ton of transactions where they can't run the full date range, and there's just an overload of transactions. But for most small businesses, you'll be able to run a full business year's worth. So again, we'll kind of do our same date range. It's under accrual. This is basically just combining your balance sheet and profit and loss accounts, and then you can see the detail for all of them. So we see our checking account detail. We can see every single number that has hit the checking account in this date range that we've got. And you can keep scrolling. It's every single account here. This report is really useful if you want to do a review of all the accounts just in one report. We also will save this account after year end, after we've completely tied everything out and it's ready for tax preparation, because this is a great way to support your tax return numbers. So if somebody was to come in and wanted to see what made up a certain account, so if they were looking at your checking account, wanted to see what made up your ending balance of $2,101, you could look at this and see every single thing that had hit your checking account in QuickBooks to give you that final number. And then lastly, just real quick, the other two reports deal with the accrual, the accounts receivable and accounts payable reports. So we'll just look at the summaries for each of them. This one we've got up here in our favorites, the Accounts Receivable Aging Summary. If it's not there, you can go to this Who Owes You section and get it there. And then this would just be as of the date. If you're entering these daily, then it would be fine to do it as of this date. We'll just leave it on that for now. And then again, you can mess with some of the specific settings, but it just defaults here to 30 days here, and we've got 4 periods. So it'll show any invoices that are currently showing in QuickBooks as unpaid. And again, you can click on this total, or if you wanted to click over here to see the 1 to 30 range for a specific customer, and you'll see what all makes up that balance. So we've got here, we can see she's got one invoice that looks like it's been partially paid. And if we want to see that exact specific invoice, we click on there and it will pop that up. And you can see everything in here. So that's one way you can kind of check to see if you feel like your accounts receivable is correct, or if you want to see which customers are still owing you, if you need to follow up with any invoice reminders, things like that. And then the counterpart of accounts receivable is the accounts payable. We're going to go down, it wasn't on our favorites, so we'll go down here to what you owe, and we'll just click on the summary again. Same thing, if you're keeping track of this daily, then it's fine to keep as of the current date. If not, you'll want to switch it again through the most recently tied out date. And this shows if you're using QuickBooks to keep track of your bills, you would be entering them in here, and then this report would show all of the outstanding bills. So for example, in this case, it's showing that we still owe $241.23 to our insurance company. And if you wanted to see what made up that, if it was one invoice or multiple, again, you click there and we can see it's one bill that we have entered here. So just a good quick report to get an overview if you're keeping track of bill payments in QuickBooks about what you still have outstanding, what you still need to pay. So those are the main 5 reports that I wanted to go over with you today. I hope that's been useful. You can look for more QuickBooks Online reports. I'm planning on coming out with some more helpful hints and tips, hopefully as frequently as I can. So check back on our YouTube channel for those. Thanks for watching.